change your mind, change your habits, change your life.
Living a spirit-led life is not for the weak-hearted. A lot of spiritual practitioners don't focus on the business side of things.
In DC, like all major businesses, corporations, like everybody has their psychic and they're just openly like, well, my psychic said we should do this. Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to another episode of Unplugged with Taylor, where we discuss 5D concepts to help you thrive in a 3D world. Today, we are here with Gina Scarpino. She is a psychic medium and spiritual life coach, and she is also featured as a psychic on the top psychic directory. So welcome, Gina.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. I was telling you earlier, I am such a fan. I have been following your work on social media, and then, of course, I had a beautiful reading with you as well. So this is a dream come true to have you in the studio today.
Oh, thank you so much. I never remember anything that I say in my reading, so hopefully I said all the good things.
You did. I'm waiting. I'm ready. So I would love to start with your story. I've listened to the stories on different podcasts of so many different psychic mediums, and it's just incredible to hear how someone comes into this work. And I especially love your story.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting. All of us mediums really have a common thread of either how we grew up or something, some kind of experience that sparks it. And mine was super interesting. And it's a very long story, just like all the other mediums. But to condense it down, it all started when my brother texted me out of nowhere. And I was having a particularly bad day. That day I was all in my feels. And I was like, oh my gosh, no one loves me. The world is crashing down. And in that moment, my brother texted me and said, hey, I just want you to know I love you. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So I called him and I was like, bro, why'd you just send that text? And he was like, I don't know, I felt it. And I was like, So shortly after that, my family comes in town for Christmas, and I start telling them that my brother is psychic. And they go completely silent at the dinner table, and they're like, well, should we tell them? And we were like, tell us what? And that's when my family told us that my grandmother was very gifted. She would predict death, told us all of these stories of her experiences. And I was like, this is absolutely wild. Shortly after that, my grandfather passed away. And the night of his memorial service, I had this dream, and he was sitting by my bed, and he was such a cool dude. Like, he was a flashy Italian, like all the gold and diamonds. And he was sitting in this wooden chair in this outfit that he always wore, yellow shorts and a red sweater, very flashy. And he was just sitting there by my bed, and there were no verbal words said at all whatsoever. It was all like this energy exchange, but I knew he was okay. I knew he was there to support me. And the next day, we go to clean out my grandfather's stuff. We can't find the yellow shorts and the red sweater anywhere. They are gone. And that was his staple. And so that's when I told everybody about my dream the night before. And from that day on, I could see things, hear things, feel things, experience things. And like, I had this pivotal moment of, oh my gosh, I've been experiencing this my whole entire life, and I didn't know what it was.
You didn't have the context.
I didn't have the context. I didn't grow up with parents where they talked about all of this stuff. It was just this moment where everything came together. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is wild.
How old are you at this point?
I was in my early 20s at this point. And I was at the top of my career. I was doing hair and makeup for the Food Network. I was loving life, making, amazing money in production, loved it. But during that time, it was so much energy coming at me that one of my aunts suggested for me to go to Lilydale. And Lilydale is a clairvoyant community in New York, and it's all gated. It's like 350 mediums that just live on this compound. Okay?
I want to go.
Oh, girl, you got to go with me. We would have so much fun. And so we went there. She took me there for a reading because my grandfather passed. I had this experience. I was going through these things, so she took me there. And oh, by the way, it's 2 miles away from my house where I grew up.
Lilydale is?
Yeah, girl.
Oh my gosh.
I could walk there from my dad's house. No one told me this place existed.
It's like this new world opened up for you.
Yes. So we went there. I got a reading. I sat down with this lovely man that became a huge part of my life. His name's John White. He's now in the spirit world. But I sat down for my first medium reading, and the first sentence out of his mouth was, "You have a blue star on your forehead. I don't know if you know this yet or not, but you're a medium." And in that moment,
Chills.
I knew it. I felt it. And the next words out of my mouth were, well, how do I do that? And so that's where my journey began. And I went full force into everything that you can possibly imagine. I'm certified in like 25 different things, okay? I did all the trainings for all the things.
I love that you went to this reading and that was said to you and you just felt it in your body and you were like, I've got to figure it out.
Yeah, I was just lit on fire after that. I got Reiki certified shortly after that. And in my Reiki certification, I got this vision of Jesus in my mind and all of these angels. And then I went to the Arthur Findlay College in Essex, England, and I continued to go there a few times a year for years. It is a college of psychic sciences. And I swear on everything, my first time going there, I actually arrived on Halloween. So my family has really dark humor. And so they were making fun of me the whole time, telling me that I was going to Hogwarts and that I was going to be using a magic wand. Like, they still say stuff like that. And I freaking love it. Like, my dad constantly is like, well, shouldn't you have seen that coming? Like, nonstop. And so I did go there, and it freaking did look like Hogwarts. Like, it's a big, huge, like, it was built in the 1800s, and it's a huge college. It's amazing.
Oh, I bet. I've read about it, actually. And that cracks me up because ever since I've gotten really into spirituality and, just trying to connect with my own gifts, I have a friend. The wind was blowing really hard one day, and it blew our stuff off the table, and he was like, get your friends.
Absolutely. Yes.
Did you have, and this is part me, my own question for you about this, my own curiosity, but I think everybody would be interested in hearing it. During that journey, did you have times where you had doubt? Was doubt
Oh, girl. Yes. 100%. I doubted myself. My family doubted. They were like, what the heck are you doing? And no one is going to come to you. I remember early on in my journey, you get flooded. There's a term that I coined, and it's called being flooded, where you start opening up to this energy and you get all of these signs, all of these symbols, and your mind is just like ping, 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 ping. And during that time, I was getting all of this flooding going on, and my mom and sister would make fun of me. And they'd be like, oh, is that another sign?
Down low.
Right. And, then little by little, they all warmed up to it. But I just remember that so vividly in my mind of I'm sure they meant it in like the most wonderful way. But in my mind, I was like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. I still doubt myself. You know, the only thing that I tell others, especially my students that I teach now, is the doubt and the fear is never going to go away. It is just there because we're human beings. But it's your ability and discipline to step over the self-doubt, step over the fear, and still do it anyway.
Chills. Full body chills.
Oh my gosh. Like, girl, when I get up on stage for platform mediumship, which is like when the Long Island medium gets on stage for a large audience, that's called platform. I will have a full-blown panic attack before I get on stage. I hate it. It feels absolutely terrible, but the minute I get up there with a microphone, it all goes away and I'm like in the zone.
You kill it every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's part of your healing journey. Like what you're saying about it's so you have to really face all your shadows and your self-doubt and your fear. That goes hand in hand with just healing trauma too. Like it's almost like trying to connect with your gifts there's so many parallels between your healing journey just to heal yourself from, like your everything you've experienced in life and connect with that as well.
Oh, 100%, because that continues on as a medium. So the way that mediumship works for majority of us gifted people is that it all works in association. So that when I have clients come in and sit down with me, the reason why I'm able to tap into what's going on in their life is because I've experienced something similar. And so it brings up memories from my past in my mind's eye. And then I'll speak to that memory. And then it'll be right on for them. So you have to be okay with what has happened in your life. And so I remember this was years ago. I was going through some relationship issues. And guess what clientele came in? All relationship issues. Wow. So they're very much themed with what is going on in your life at that time.
So it's almost like kind of drawing in that same energy, and it's in a way I would think healing for you and the people coming to you.
Oh, absolutely. So a medium not dealing with their trauma does not happen.
I know you told me in my reading with you that mediums experience a little bit of every type of trauma, and that part of that's the intention behind it, is to be able to really empathize with people on an experiential level, all types of people with all types of experiences.
Absolutely. And, that common thread that I spoke about earlier, that when we are children, most mediums experience some kind of neglect, abuse, something that gets them really internal, so that the only place that they can go is that universal divine energy, that God energy, that angel energy. And that's what really promoted me in that mediumistic way. I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and my siblings, my mom was a single mom. And my dad lived in New York. My mom lived in Kentucky with us kids. And so my siblings took care of me a lot. And so which meant I was alone a lot. I watched a lot of TV. I was by myself. Also being around a ton of energy. I didn't know at the time because I was little, but it was too much. So I was I was extroverted as a child, but also very introverted. And that really gave me that ground, that solid ground to connect and to talk to myself, which I wasn't talking to myself. I was talking to angels. But it really promoted that. And so looking back at my journey and all of those traumatic experiences that I've had all throughout my life, each experience brought me closer to God and angels so that I could have that divine communication with them.
I love the reframing of sensitivity as a gift.
Yeah.
That has been, I've always felt like I was too sensitive. I'm so sensitive. Why do I get so overwhelmed so easily? and just so many people who are sensitive. This is not a world for sensitive people.
Yeah.
You know, there's things constantly around you that are wanting you to desensitize because of just the intensity of the world that we live in and the things that we're exposed to. And so not looking at your sensitivity as something that holds you back or makes you different or makes you strange, but looking at it as this beautiful gift that allows you to, you know, be a healer in your own right and own way.
And I love that you said that, because I had that same exact experience. All growing up, I was told I was too sensitive, like from everywhere. So it detached me from my feelings. I'm too sensitive. Something's wrong with me. I need to have tougher skin, all of those things. But my sensitivity is what makes me me and what gets me that connection so that I can read for people and feel them and be compassionate. And so that sensitivity was part of my gifts that God gave me. And so many people experience that with being told that they're too sensitive. No, you're not. You're not too sensitive. You're sensitive because that's the way your body works. That's the way your mind, body, spirit works. It is. It's a really, really beautiful thing. So never think you're too sensitive.
How do you protect that now? Like, what is your process?
Oh, gosh. Of like my whole process to protect my sensitivity, there is, I mean, we could do a whole hour on just my rituals of how I take care of myself. How I take care of myself is very different than, I'll say, most humans. In protecting that sensitivity. But I think that the main one, to dumb all of that down into one tool, is that I don't do anything that my mind, body, or spirit doesn't feel good doing. And whether that be something that I'm saying or somewhere where I'm going or people that I'm going to be around, if it doesn't feel good in my body, that is my body telling me, hey, something's not good. Something's not good there for you, or you're not having enough energy for this interaction. But I listen to my body 100% of the time because it guides me all day, every day.
And this has been a theme on several episodes of how this world kind of tells you not to do that. And also I think, like, personally, I feel bad, like, oh, I made those plans. Like, oh, just suck it up. Like, you know, just last night, actually, I really didn't feel like going somewhere. And finally I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to go. Like, sometimes you just have to prioritize, like, listen to your body. And that's something that I think as women in our culture, especially, we're taught to please people.
Oh, yeah.
And just, like, push through. So I think that is such valuable advice for anybody. Like, listen to your body, and when it's a no, it's a no. And figuring out what that's even like how to even listen to your body versus your head and all your protective parts.
And I love the way that you worded that, the do not push through. And so many of us are trained, you know, being in the hair and the makeup world for so long, you push through. You had 10, 12-hour days every day, and you push your energy forward through the threshold. And that's where mental illness comes in, and physical illness, and just not feeling good, or just plain irritability. Like, if you want to be a happy, content, magical, divine person, don't push through and really listen to it, you know? Absolutely.
What is your... So I know you have, like, all these rituals and ways that you protect your energy. Was it difficult in your, like, along your journey to, I mean, did you, like, lose people in your life? Was there...
Yeah. Yes. Like, I remember when I first started, I used to do these crazy walk-in readings, and they were like for 6 or 8 hours in a day. And that was I would do like 40, 50 readings in one day. And I would, like, turn them out every 10, 15 minutes. And at the end of the day, I would go home and I would cry for 2 days after. I didn't have a mentor to say, that's too many readings. I had to like figure out all of that on my own. And so, yeah, so as my journey progressed, like my likes and dislikes changed. I used to love going out dancing every night. Like, I'm a dancer. I love salsa dancing. I loved going out and having cocktails with friends. And all of that changed where, like, I went through this phase where I couldn't even drink alcohol. It would make me sick even if I had a sip. The people in my life definitely changed 100%. Now I have the most beautiful friendships of all spiritual people that love each other, that want the best for each other, that lift each other up. So yeah, and then some boundary setting with family members, you know? And so, yeah, a lot of things change in your life drastically. Living a spirit-led life is not for the weak-hearted.
You were such a like boss babe archetype too. I mean, you were like doing hair and makeup for a major television network. I mean, that's hustling. That tells me right there you're the kind of person that hones in on their craft and is like, okay, better. And I resonate with that so much.
Yeah.
So to reframe what better looks like and what, you know, being ambitious looks like as a spiritual entrepreneur, I just can't imagine what that journey was like.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, well, if you think about it, you know, a lot of spiritual practitioners don't focus on the business side of things, right? And they're doing it out of their house, which is absolutely fantastic. But they do it out of their house. They don't have a website, like all of those things of, no, like I'm not going to charge a lot because this is spiritual work, which I honor all of that. Like I do, you know, I try to give as much as I can to my community, and I really, really do. But the business side of things, I love using my intuitive abilities on the business side, but it all comes from childhood, again, of growing up with a single mom where I got all hand-me-downs. I didn't get all the new things. And I never wanted to be in a financial spot like I was when I was a kid. I didn't want to have to worry about if I need new shoes, where is the money going to come from? You feel that?
In my heart.
Yes. And it's like, you know, it's something that gets me emotional of, you know, all these parents always say like, I want my kids to grow up better than how I grew up. And in my mind, I never thought about money-wise. I always thought about time. That's how you do better for your children. But it's very much ingrained in you when you grow up financially humble, is my way of saying it. When you grow up financially humble, you know, it puts a different tone on things of, yes, I want to manifest and I want things to happen naturally, but I'm never going to let myself go back there. It's always something that's in the back of your mind. But I have had to do a ton of mindset training for myself on that, 100%.
That I think that I think abundance is our birthright, is what I believe. And I resonate so much with your story. And that's kind of one of the money stories that I've been working on, and I've noticed shows up in my spending. Some people will have that scarcity where they don't spend because of their early experiences. And with me, I know how often I didn't have things and how like there was this comparison that started early on, and I very much noticed what things I didn't have. So now I'm always afraid on some subconscious level of like not having. Yeah. So like I'll have 18 sweaters in a certain color and I'll be like, oh, I don't have anything to wear. Or I need sweaters this season. Like it's like this panic of like, ooh, I have 8 coats, but I don't have enough coats. I don't have a mauve one. Like, you know, it's this scarcity of items kind of thing that shows up.
Do you do doubles also? Like, I never want to run out of toothpaste, so I always have like 2 extra tubes of toothpaste. You know what I mean? It's like this weird scarcity thing.
Yes.
Of like, I don't want to run out.
Of buying, yeah. And it's scarcity not of saving, but of buying.
Yeah.
And that's really just kind of come to my attention lately. And it makes me uncomfortable to like start getting real skimpy with money, because I remember what that was like. So I'm like, I genuinely believe that Spirit wants us to be abundant. We're abundant beings, and that there is enough abundance and resources in the world for everyone. And this belief that it's limited or scarce is a limiting belief.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
your
agree.
glass ceiling.
Yes.
You know, and I'll say this. Anytime that I look at my finances and I'm like, I'm going to stop spending and I'm going to save, I will not get one reading booked.
I love to hear it.
Okay? And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go out and buy something. The moment I go out and buy something, I'll check my email and it's like boom, 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 boom.
Because you were in scarcity. And so your subconscious is like, oh, okay, you don't want things, you don't want abundance. Well, we'll just limit you. We'll keep you right here, safe. I love to hear examples of that, because I believe that in my soul. I don't, I'm just, that's very affirming to me.
Yes.
I'm glad you said that.
Good.
I want to hear all the like amazing, I just was sharing with you earlier, I think so many people that aren't in that, that haven't experienced a session with an intuitive maybe have these ideas about what it's like, but really there can be so much groundedness to it, like the different things that people come to you with legal questions, with medical questions, I'm sure there's an abundance of people coming to ask about relationships.
Oh yeah, girl.
And just like how to grow your business, like how to intuitively, start a new business, to make a career change. So I would love to dive into just the different types of clientele that you have come in, and also what you were sharing with me about just regionally the different areas, the culture there around mediums and business.
Okay. So going into, and can you ask that question again, the first one?
So just about different people coming to you with different things in mind, like whether it's medical, legal, financial.
Yeah. So when clients come to me, like my first time clients, I have like a 5-minute spiel that I go into, because I want everybody to feel comfortable when they come in and know what to expect. Because if they have come to me for the first time, usually they've been like given spiritual nudges from all over the place of, you've popped up here, here, and here, and now I'm finally here, and I'm scared and I'm nervous. So I always talk to them a little bit. I make them know that I'm normal and that I'm not like a woo-woo turban wearing psychic, although like I totally want to do a photo shoot with that, like Wizard of Oz style with a crystal ball. It's like a dream of mine. But yeah, so I tell them, like, as far as psychic readings go, that's all future-based. So I look into what's going on in your life now, and then I give you specific predictions on career, finance, love life, health, travel, spiritual path, with an added dose of like, if I see anything what's coined as bad or not so good, I help you steer around it and I help you prep for it. And so, like, if I see your basement flooding, I'm not going to be like, girl, your basement's going to flood. I'm going to be like, hey, you might want to go check your pipes in the basement. It's this one all the way to the left by the washing machine.
Ooh.
So it can help you steer around those difficult times. Or if you're going through a difficult time, I help you navigate through it. But yes, so people come in to me to contact their loved ones in spirit. And I bring through their loving messages in the most wonderful way. Sometimes they come through with their first name, and it's easy peasy. We both know who we're speaking to. Or they might give me other attributes about who they are, like how they passed away, what they did for a living, hobbies, little things that I couldn't possibly know. And so I really love connecting people to their loved ones. But I will tell you, my jam is getting into the nitty gritty. Like, I want to go into relationship issues. I want to go into any medical concerns that you have. I come from a long line of doctors and nurses. So I was on the pathway before doing hair and makeup. I was going to medical school. I went into the Army so that I can get my medical school paid for, because I was going into plastics I wanted to help children with cleft palate. And so like that was like my thing. And so I grew up at the breakfast table. Still to this day, my father does this. He'll bring out his medical charts and I'll be like, oh my God, my back's hurting here or my arm's hurting. He's like, okay, let's get out the charts. And so I got all of these medical lessons and anatomy lessons all growing up, so that when a client comes in to see me and they have a medical concern, first and foremost, I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose. I see these hot spots in the body. And then I'm going to tell you really weird things to do to shift your energy so that you feel better. But it's pretty miraculous how it works. I never, it's very, very strange how it works. Like, I can look at someone and tell by the coloring of their eyes or the way that their skin looks on their hands. Like, sometimes that's exactly how it comes across to me. I'm like, you're low in iron. You have endometriosis, although I don't say that. You have, and I'll go through all of these things. I love getting into medical. Love it, love it, love it. You give me a murder, a medical issue, or a legal issue, I will dive in there and tell you all of the things.
Which is so cool, because in my head, those would be the scariest things to because there's so much like at stake.
Yes.
Do you ever feel it in your body, like where their pain is? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's probably tough.
Yes, like last week I did a reading for a girl and I woke up with like sheer anxiety in my chest. And I was like, what the heck is going on? I get in the shower. I started getting like super insecure. And I was like, why am I feeling insecure? Like, what's going on? And so I actually texted my boyfriend and I was like, I'm feeling all of this. I don't know what's going on. And then as soon as I texted him, I was like, I bet it's for my client. And this insecurity that I was feeling was due to a relationship. Next thing you know, 30 minutes later, I hop on the phone with my client and she's going through severe insecurity issues with her husband and worried that he's cheating on her and all of this. And I was tapping into all of that morning. So yeah, girl, I feel it.
And before the reading even starts.
Yes.
So I'm just thinking, like, when you're going on vacation or when you're taking a few days off or when you're like, you have to be so mindful of even letting people book you, because once it's booked, it's the intention
energy is
set.
there.
Wow.
Exactly. So turning off my mediumship, like my connection to spirit, that's super easy for me to do, because like I have a process that when I tune into you, I open up the gates, they come in, it's easy peasy. Doesn't mean things don't slip out, like, because they do. But being an empath, which all mediums are empaths, it's very hard to turn that off. That's like trying to hold your breath the whole time. So it's very, very hard not to tap into someone, because I tap into them through voice vibration. So if you remember when you had a reading with me, I had you state your name and the date. That voice vibration gives me impressions and visions to then start talking to. So anybody that I talk to, that's automatic, some kind of impression that they're giving me intuitively.
Wow. Are you getting anything right now?
No, not right now, because I'm trying to focus. But I did get a bunch when I was showering this morning. I did get a bunch about you in business.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I love to hear it.
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't send you any bad vibes.
No, it was all good things. It was all about rebranding, and you were like gonna go into it. Did you all already talk about that?
No, we're meeting after this session about that.
Okay, perfect. So I was right on point. So this morning, your like morning download was all about rebranding, doing things differently, expanding some things, taking back others. Yeah.
Elevation.
Mhm.
Yes, that's amazing.
And I was excited about that. I was like, ooh, this looks so much fun.
Yeah. Oh gosh, now I lost my train of thought. That was just so exciting. I was like, wow.
Uh-huh.
But just talking about like the different, I loved what you were sharing with me about, I would have never thought of this, people coming to you with legal questions.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. It was either last week or the week before. I can't remember what planets were doing what, but they were doing something, okay? And I had like 8 people in a row come in for readings and healing sessions that were big, big, big legal issues. Like my first client that day was getting sued for embezzling $300,000.
Wow.
My next client was a lawyer that came in and was working on a trial. Then the next one after that, he was thinking about suing someone for, monies owed. And then the last one, oh, my heart went out to her. Her son was on trial for murder at 17 years old. He committed the murder at age 15, and he murdered his stepdad. Wow. Right in front of her.
Oh.
And so you would think that it was a super heavy day.
It sounds like a super heavy day.
It wasn't. It was miraculously not heavy. I was like, all right, let's get in here. Let's see what's going to happen. This lawyer is going to try to pull this trigger. Be on the lookout for that. You need a new plan. You need to talk to your lawyer about adding this into evidence. Like, I get all in there. I'm such a true crime girl. I'm like, I know all the details. Give them to me.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you said about in DC, and I'm sure this is the case in a lot of like more major cities, which there's much more of a spiritual community here in Louisville than I ever would have imagined.
It's huge.
Yeah, but like you saying in DC, like all major businesses, corporations, like everybody has their psychic, and they're just openly like, well, my psychic said we should do this.
Yeah.
I love that there's that culture there.
Mm-hmm.
In
and
place.
I never would have thought that for DC at all whatsoever, because you think, okay, well, they're all high-powered politicians in D.C. None of these people are going to do anything woo-woo. They're all about it. All about it.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and there's so much, like, that's back to that grounded piece. Like, I very much want to work with intuitives on my path to go from, spending 15 years in the education system, not on my path to be an entrepreneur. I absolutely want guidance from people who have so many years of experience being tapped in to divine wisdom. And I also want to work on my own ability to tap in as well. I mean, I went to a sensory deprivation tank.
Oh, God, how'd you do?
Oh, I did better than I thought. For a while, I was like sitting by the door, like, I can't do this. But I was just like, I want to just hear amongst all the noise. I want to cut out the noise and really
craving it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. When you get to that point where you're craving solitude and connection, like, it just feeds the soul so much. It really, really does.
I'm struggling with the doubt for myself, not obviously of other people or of, spirituality. I feel that all very deeply, but trust with myself and my own listening but then I read and it's like, it takes time for people to figure out how to listen.
It totally takes time. And I love that you're going through that process. My process of learning to trust myself was very much rooted into relationships of whether to stay or whether to go. Wow. And I always stayed longer than what my intuition taught me. And then I'm like, are you feeling this?
Yeah.
And then once I got ballsy enough to listen to it, then I was like, oh, this is here to help me. And so now it's like the blind leading the blind. Blind trust. Whatever I feel, I do. And I just do it anyway. And I know that it always works out for the best. So the more that you trust your intuitive hits that you get and your guidance, and the more that you follow it, the easier it will become. The struggle is when you don't listen to it or you push it off some.
What is your advice as to how to discern the difference between old patterning, protective parts, and intuition?
That's a really good question. Well, starting out with fear versus intuition is the easiest thing. Of when you get an intuitive hit, you'll feel neutral, positive, joyous, inspired. So it's like neutral or above. If you feel anxious or scared or fearful or any of those lower energy emotions, that's fear coming into play.
And ego.
Yeah. But the ego helps you also. The ego is not all bad. The ego gets a bad rap.
I'm trying to like wrap my head around that right now too, because it's like, okay, it's learning that process of making sure the ego's not running the show, but it is necessary for like growth and for like, you know, stepping into your authenticity and, you know, your bigness and your visibility, all of those things.
Absolutely. And so like when you have like an old, so for instance, if you're in a relationship and you have an unsavory emotion coming up, it's like, okay, is this a past experience of trauma coming up? Am I being triggered? Is this fear? Is this intuitive? And it can be a blend of most of those things, but more times than not, it's going to be a past experience is being shown to you for one of two reasons. Like this experience is happening again and you need to get out, or this past experience is coming up again so that you can choose differently and heal it once for all. Oh my God, you all, I'm so excited. You all get a 20% off code for any of my services. The code is unplugged. Visit my website, ginajulianscarpino.com, book whatever service you want, and then add in the code unplugged.
Use code UNPLUGGED if you want a chance to win a giveaway for a free reading and healing session with Gina. This will be 1 hour. It's available in person or virtual. You just need to send a direct message on Instagram to both myself and Gina with the code UNPLUGGED, and a winner will be drawn at midnight. And it's almost like that's what I've talked to a few people about lately, because I think that's so incredible to think of it as, why do you think that the universe or God or whatever word you want to use, source or patterning, why do you think these patterns keep popping up? It's because they're not going to stop until you do something different. You show up to the pattern in a elevated, in a healed state and handle it differently.
Yeah, and then the pattern totally changes, you know? And so when a pattern keeps on coming up, a lot of times people automatically go, okay, this pattern's coming up so you can heal it. But sometimes you just have cycles of patterns that come up in your life also. So like there's, you know, an 11-year pattern, a 7-year cycle, an 8-year cycle. And so if you look over the past like 7 years, all of those things that came up, those things might come up again, but in a different way. So it could be because of a pattern, or it could be because of your life cycle as well.
Is that sort of like when people say once you learn to surrender, there's just a new video game level of surrender that you have to learn?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you mastered that, but like level up. But then if you were to look at it from a, you know, bird's eye view, if you were to zoom out and look at that, wow, look at the growth and elevation of where you're headed. I mean, you're going up a mountain. It's more difficult the whole way, but you're going up to get to the, you know, the top of where you're supposed to be.
Absolutely. And then there's a different concept of a lot of people are very, very much holding tight to their trauma. They are unwilling to heal. And so they're like, oh, I'm healing. Oh, I'm going through my healing process. That's like the new woke version of like being triggered is, oh no, I'm going through my healing process. Well, how long are you going to go through this healing process? You know what I mean? Like, how long are you going to be there?
It's almost like a little safety blanket, like identity,
Yes.
because once you're like in it, I mean, I can resonate with that because it's like once you're in it, it's like, okay, I'll give myself some grace. I'm healing. But then there gets to be a point where it's like, okay, I'm using this as a security blanket to not level up and step into my like bigness because I'm like, oh, I'm just still working. I'm still down here working on this.
Yeah. And it's like, no, girl, you're fine. You're healed.
Yeah.
You're all right.
You're ready. Step in.
Step
up.
into it. Absolutely.
Chills.
And I really do believe that. I really do believe that like more of us need to stand up and be like, I'm healed. Now what? And get away from the, oh, well, I'm working on setting boundaries and I'm working on this and I'm working on that.
You're doing it.
You're already doing it.
Yeah.
And then if you bring in quantum physics to it and manifesting, if you're continually healing your trauma, the only thing that you're going to bring towards you is more continual healing of trauma.
More trauma to heal from.
You know, so then it's like, maybe you just focus on what's going right in your life instead of focusing on all of your trauma.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Thank you.
Because it really is difficult to shed that old story. And when you do, it's like, well, who am I now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have to actually like fully step into myself and like have full accountability and like make or break. You know, I don't have that to kind of cling on to anymore as my safety net.
Absolutely.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of women go through this when they're exiting difficult relationships or traumatic relationships, abusive, narcissistic abusive relationships. They get out of it, they go through their healing process, they get into therapy, and then they're like, well, what do I want? Because they've never been in tune with what they want or who they are. And being a woman people pleaser, it's like, well, what do you want? Where do you want to go to dinner? What will make you happy? There's no attachment to the self of what do I really want? What makes me feel really good?
Which is terrifying. And it's so much easier to be like, I'm so focused on what I want because it's the only thing my brain can currently conceptualize versus I'm going to fully surrender and I'm going to let something come into my life that I could have never imagined. That is so hard.
Yeah.
So hard to do because your brain's like, no, this is the best thing you know. So stay here and want this.
Absolutely. I remember in my younger years, like I would make my vision board and I would put all my pictures on there. And like I would want this thing over here in this house, and then I'd want this vacation. And I'm like, that's not what manifesting is about. It's about manifesting the feeling of things.
Safety, love, comfort.
And it's more about like, how do I keep the things that I already have? How do I keep that energy flowing? And how do I open myself up to what the universe wants to give me and my destiny right? We haven't even gotten to destiny right.
Almost like people are so fixated on it's an illusion of control. Like I'm so fixated on this manifestation that I want. Like I'm so laser focused on this thing that here's this other awesome thing coming and I'm ignoring it because I'm so laser focused on something else that I want.
Absolutely. So my favorite example is this. So I work with a lot of women that have fertility issues. It is something that is so near and dear to my heart. I love it. And every time that I work with a new woman that's trying to conceive, my first question is, how is communication with your partner? How often do you all have intimacy just to be intimate with each other without the goal of having a baby? And when I'm able to switch their focus off of making a baby and into making a connection with their partner and a really strong heart connection, that's when it happens. and then the baby comes in.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Instead of focusing on baby over here, relationship last, it's like, no, you're doing it backwards.
And the baby's created under this, in a situation where there's love and connection and intimacy versus stress and
let's
lack.
make this happen. Yeah. And so it's like when you have that energy of let's make that happen, let's force it, let's push it, of how we were all raised by the baby boomers. You know, once we get past that, then it's like, oh, we don't have to work harder. It's like it all just flows to us.
What were you saying just a minute ago? We haven't even gotten to the what?
Oh, the destiny points.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, so we all have different destiny points in our lives of things that are going to happen. And like, for instance, you might have a guy and his destiny points are he's going to be a lawyer, he's going to get married, he's going to lose a child, he's going to build a house, like different destiny points, things that are destined to happen. Or like for you, you were destined to come into your intuitive ability. You were destined to have a podcast. You were also destined to have certain relationship issues so that you can speak to certain relationship issues. You know, and so we all have these destiny points that are going to happen no matter what. Mm-hmm. And what happens between those 2 points is all up to us.
So like what you do with it. Mm-hmm. So the point is so all the things that were meant to happen to you, you know, you have the free will to do with it what you want or what you choose. Mm-hmm. But the point coming into this life was to grow and evolve from it and use the experience and transmute the energy into something that is going to serve humanity, that's going to give you, help you step more into your gift, into your personal power, into the medicine that is you to help heal the world. Oh, that's so
absolutely. And when you have those, you know, when you have those points, I never say this, life is not about, because under Buddhist philosophy or different philosophies, it's very much of learning my lessons so that my soul can come back more progressed. The actual, what I believe the point of life is to get so in tune with your mind, body, spirit that you have a blissful life, that you enjoy every moment of every day. That's the point. So all of these things that come in are to teach us how to let go, be ourselves, so that we can have that bliss every moment of every day. That's the point.
Perspective, story, the way you look at it, the way you frame things that happen, the way you appreciate the quote unquote lows so that you can really embrace highs, and even have an appreciation for those more challenging moments as lessons meant to teach you something important.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you, when you have people come in for readings, what is it like when you have to you see things that maybe people definitely wouldn't want to hear?
I have very tricky ways of wording things, and I don't want to give too much away so people don't know. But I'll say when I see tricky things coming up in someone's life, like a lot of times people do not come to me when their life is happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
You know, they come to me when they have a need. And the biggest need is usually relationship, finances, career, things like that. And so, like, for relationships, I'm thinking about divorcing my partner. Should I stay or should I go? I'm never going to tell you whether you should stay or whether you should go. Unless you're a repeat client of mine and we have a relationship and I'll be like, girl. leave him. I will totally do that. But if we don't have that rapport of very tricky wording of, I see you making a decision of your relationship of whether to stay or whether to go in March of 2025, you know, so I still use my wording in a specific way that leaves you in your power of making a choice. If a psychic or medium tells you to do something and you do not have a friendship or a rapport with them, run in the opposite direction. They're taking your power away.
Because it really should be about helping you to tap into yourself and your own.
Yes.
It's guidance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even with specific predictions and stuff, I want my clients to make their own decisions. When I was in my early 20s, I went and saw a very well-known medium that has about a year or 2-year waiting list. She told me something specific that was going on in my life that I had no clue that was going on. And I altered my life because of what she said, and what she said was untrue. And I made huge life decisions because of her and got off track for about 1.5 years of my life because of what she said. So I am extremely ethical in how I do my readings because of that. You have to leave the person leaving in their power and feeling better than when they walked in.
And almost like presenting with options and just a different, like you would go to a therapist, but a highly intuitive therapist that can feel your feelings and is tapped into what's going on in your life and seeing it from more sides than just your perspective that you're presenting, which can help you really tap into maybe some blind spots.
Absolutely.
And I really like what you said about like, well, I see in March that's going to be when you really come down. There's going to be some things that really bring you to the point of stay or go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's very different than like, well, you're going to leave.
Yeah.
I love what you said about a situation where, you know, after meeting with you, a person decided on their own to leave, and then the other partner was like, help me get her back.
Yes. I was like, what in the world when I got that email? So again, I don't remember any of my readings after I do them. It like comes in and goes out and then I'm done. And apparently I read for this girl where I said something like that. You're going to make a decision of whether to stay or whether to go. And I don't know if she let him listen to the reading. I don't know. But I know that I say things in a very foolproof way to where I don't get in trouble.
Or get somebody harassing you.
Right.
Or,
And so then he emailed me asking me if I could help him get her back. And I was like, I'm not one of those people. I don't do spells. I don't know like anything about any of that. I was just like, I'm so sorry.
That's what I love so much about your whole brand, all of it. It's so grounded, like you said. I mean, even like I'm really drawn to lately to like what people call witchy kind of stuff, but not in the way that like, because I'm a why, you know, what's the reason behind that? How does that work kind of person? Yeah. And like what history would call a spell is a ritual, and a ritual is an intention, and an intention is a thought that helps you take your mental energy and focus on something.
Exactly. That's like so perfectly worded. We could like write that down and license it. No, it's absolutely perfect. It's all the same. We just all use different vernacular. Yes. Like truly, we just all use different wording. And it's that simple.
Yes, and that's what my vision for this whole platform is accessibility. So, finding spirituality has changed my life, and full body chills, has changed my life in ways that I could have never imagined. And so I just want people like me who would have been, or, you know, people out there that don't understand it, or they've kind of bought into the stereotypes or whatever, to see the accessibility points and to how everything's connected.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I remember early on in my journey, I have quite the interesting religious background.
Same, actually.
So I grew up very hardcore Italian Catholic, okay? Like, all the things. So this was, like, not on my radar. And then through, like, at the end of high school, I was going into the Army. I became a born-again Christian. I got baptized again. And then after that, I went totally agnostic. Then I went super deep into Buddhism, super deep into Hinduism, a little dash of Judaism in there. Like, I went into everything only to come back to, I am what I am. I'm a spiritual being. I believe in God. I believe in angels. I believe in energy, all of those things. But I remember in my first few readings, like, I couldn't even talk about angels. Like, it made me physically uncomfortable. But then once I realized I make my religion and my spirituality what I want it to be, and I can include things from Catholicism and Buddhism and all different religions. And I think that that's what really makes my readings so accessible, is that I include all of those different religions for all of the different cultures. And so the wording might be a little bit different, but having that base of all of those different religions helps me be able to tap into all of those different spiritualities. And I think a lot of people like that I use the word God.
Yeah.
And angels.
It's
they
a comfortable
really do.
word for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I think of spirituality as the soil, as the garden that all the religions have like sprouted up from. Because if you get to, and that's a fascinating thing for me too, if you get to the root of all of their origins, you always will come back to, there's an energy, there's a source, there's something bigger than we fully conceptualize or understand. And everything beyond that is a story.
Yeah. And we all have the same story, just different character names.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Gina, this has been amazing and just like a dream come true for me having you here today. And I personally resonate so much with so much of what you've said. And I think that like grounded piece will help so many people that haven't, ventured into have an experience with a medium or haven't really like dug into spirituality, all those access points. This has been a great conversation to support that.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed being here. I love talking to you. I could sit here all day and talk. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Next time. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I would love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments. Be sure and hit like and then subscribe so that you don't miss an episode.